All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Men's Physique podcast. Today, we've got an absolute heater. We're sitting down with one of the top, if not the top men's physique coach in Canada. He works with athletes across every division, and he's already racked up 6 IFBB Pro Cards in the last 3 years. He's got 4 in men's physique, 1 in wellness, and 1 in bikini. 2 of those Pro Cards are also in the natural stream in the CPA. He's known for consistently bringing in his athletes on show day. He's also a men's physique competitor himself, and he is the founder of BTY Fitness. Mr. Jayden Snyder, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
You had an incredible year so far. I've been watching on the sidelines, and you've been really making a name for yourself. So for anyone who doesn't already know you, can you just tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, a lot of people, if they've kind of come into even the last 2 to 3 years of knowing kind of who I am, might not know my full story. So I grew up playing hockey and lacrosse and sports at a very kind of high level. And I went off to university when I was 18 years old and had stopped playing competitive sports. And I'd already kind of gotten into the gym when I was like 16 or so, with a couple of friends, and started to find passion in training, not just for sports, but for hypertrophy, and started to do a lot of bodybuilding.com research and stuff like that when we were just like 16 years old and stuff.
I did that too.
So it feels so weird to think about those times compared to the accessibility that people have now to information, how much we had to kind of look back then. But yeah, so then when I was in my first year of university, I just decided, I was like, you know what, like I need something new that's going to push my competitive side. And I was like, I want to do a show. I didn't know what streams there were, what competitions there were, what the federations were. So at 18, I decided that I was going to hire a coach. There was a local guy that I hired, and decided to do my first show when I was living in the dorm room at university. And I didn't have like a kitchen. I didn't have anything at all. It was a lot of like microwave rice and tuna and microwaved egg whites and eggs. And my parents lived about 45 minutes from where I was, like, went to university. So my mom would sometimes make me chicken and like drive to meet me. And so I've always been extremely blessed with like my parents being extremely supportive of all my sports, and then it carried into bodybuilding. And so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know who was doing the show. I'd never even seen what people looked like who did the shows. Because at that point, Men's Physique only had one Mr. Olympia at that point.
So did you say you were 18 years old? What year was
Sorry, this was 2014.
Okay, so that was the very first year Men's Physique was even on the
Was
scene.
that like Mark Anthony?
Yeah, Mark Anthony was that was the only thing that kind of you knew as what a standard was. And so like no one knew what they were chasing. No one knew what the posing was. Like it was such a different crazy time back then. Trying to find board shorts back then. I don't even remember this part, Don. Like grabbing board shorts, you're going into every store in the mall.
Like
being
Hurley or
like,
something?
Well, I had to order
I-
mine online. I think the Hurley Phantoms were really popular back in the day.
Yeah,
Baggy
yeah.
ones.
Yeah, no, I'd find like, yeah, Billabong, or I'd go into like West
Silver.
49 or like different stores. And like a lot of them too, like if you got your waist down to like a 28, not a lot of them had like a 28 waist size even back then too.
Yeah, that's right.
There was 16 guys in my class. There was no novice, there's no true novice, there's no junior. There's just, here's your open classes and go. And I ended up getting second place at 18. Like I literally got off stage at prejudging, didn't even know what first call it was, didn't know what anything meant. And my coach was like, dude, you might have just won. I don't know. And later I ended up getting second place at that show. And I literally was like, I love this. This is the coolest thing ever.
So
And
going
then
into the show, like, did you watch any other divisions at that point? Like,
I knew
bodybuilders?
I knew about bodybuilding. I knew about bodybuilders, like just from bodybuilding.com. Because like Instagram was such a baby then too. Like there was kind of like your Jeff Side and Steve Cook, and that was pretty much the only two that I can even think of back then. That Matt Acton,
It was Steve Cook and Alex Carnero.
yeah, and then Jason Poston was another one. But yeah, so I just fell in love with bodybuilding back then, and since then I've stepped on stage 12 times and done 14 preps.
Do you think it was a lot harder to go pro when they used to have regional provincials than pretty much one national show a year? compared to how it is set up now?
It was very different. Because you had to get top five at a regional, top five at provincials, and then you could get to nationals. And back then, also top like the first place at a regional, if you won overall at a regional, you had lifetime buy to provincials.
That's right.
If you won overall at provincials, you had lifetime buy to nationals.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So that was back when it was OPA and CBBF, and so each province had their own separate federation. So each province had their own provincials, and then top five at each province moved on to nationals. So back then it was to be at nationals, it was a different, like, to be nationally qualified was like a different kind of thing. Whereas is now it can be, depending on the show that you qualify at, it can be a lot easier.
I think some regional shows are not the same tier, if that makes sense. Like if you think about like a King Kong or a Barry, those are like almost like a provincial level type of show. They're not quite national level, but there's so many guys, like it's almost a provincial level.
Yeah. I mean, yes, because you obviously had to get top five 2 shows in a row basically at increasing kind of difficulties. But so it definitely was like, I never got to do a national show because the year that I qualified for nationals was the year that they made the switch. So I had qualified, so I'd done a regional show. I got second place at that regional show. And then qualified for what would have been provincials for the next year. And I was going to do provincials. And then that year they changed so that the provincials was now the Toronto Pro Show. That was 2017.
So after doing your first show, how soon after did you start taking on athletes?
So I had done my first show at 18, and then I did my second show at 19, and then my third one I did at 20 as I was self-coached because I was still in university and like couldn't really afford a coach or anything like that. And I was kind of just curious of the process and trying to do it for my like, and I ended up having a really good look that year. Like at that point I was starting to get into like a little bit of personal training, and I had people at the gym and stuff just asking me to help them with kind of nutrition plans or like write them programs or workout programs or whatever it was. Like when I was 20, I had already started doing some programming for people, because like people would be like, oh, can you just send me your program that you did and whatever. And then that's when it was like, no, but I can like write you something. I wasn't like coaching. I was like giving people a plan and just being like, if it works, send me your updates. Like, show me what you look like, show me if it works. And then after I graduated, I went to go take a year off from school before I was going to go back for a master's. And I was just personal training. And that's when I started to get more people asking me the same kind of thing. Like, hey man, can you like write me a nutrition program? Or hey, I can't afford personal training sessions, but like, can you just do like a training program for me or whatever it was? And I started to like take on that like check-in portion of it and be like, actually have people sending me weekly check-ins and stuff like that. Because even when I had a coach, I didn't have weekly check-ins. He literally just sent me a plan, and I would see him at the gym like once every month, and he would look at me and like tell me what to do next. But it was like I didn't even know what weekly check-ins were at that point. So I had started to do that at that point, and then more and more people started to come to me for just lifestyle coaching. And then it was when I was 21, I believe it was my first client who asked me to take him to the stage for a men's physique show.
So how did more and more people start noticing that you were offering coaching? Like, were you posting more on Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah. So I grew up in a relatively small town, and I was a personal trainer at one of the main gyms there. So I was kind of like known in the area for fitness. I was really the only one who really competed seriously. I don't even remember when I started charging people.
Yeah.
Like the first couple of people, I didn't even charge them. Like they just asked me to help them, and I helped them. I'm pretty sure the first time I started charging people like $20 a month. Like, and then once I got to like $50 a month, I was like, man, this is crazy. And then the one guy asked me, hey man, can you take me to the stage? He actually is still a client.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that was when you were 21.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're
30.
So he's been with you for 9 years.
Roughly, yeah, I think so.
That's incredible,
Wow.
man. Walk us through when it started like really blowing up.
So then um, there was another couple years that I competed, and I put one guy on stage. He was my first classic physique guy. Um, and he ended up winning his class, didn't win the overall, but just brought like a really good look for his first show. And then we did a second show together, and he brought like an even better look. So he was starting to get people kind of like looking at him, and then people were realizing like that I was coaching him. So then people were starting to come to me because of that. And then, yeah, I was supposed to have about 16 people step on stage in 2020.
Yeah.
And I was really like, okay, like, you know what, like this is going to be my breakout year. Like, I'm like, this is going to be really good for me to get me going where I want to go. And every single show except for like one got canceled that year. And um, that was pretty bad because like I was really confident with a lot of the looks we were bringing. There was the Legends Cup. My one client was prepping for that one. I was 5 weeks out, and I was looking at myself after my workout before I left to go to the show. I was like, you know, I look pretty good right now. So I signed up for the show that night. We both went on 5 and 1 day notice and stepped on stage, and we both won the overall. So he won classic, and I won men's physique. So
Oh,
um,
wow.
So what was supposed to be my breakout year as a coach ended up still being a success because I at least got some sort of traction on that year, and that was kind of where it all started to snowball in from there. And then the main catalyst to my success was Bavee, 100%. We He didn't like what he brought to the national show in 2021. And we were just talking, and he was curious of like a new approach and all this stuff. And I was like, "Wait, what would you think if I tried to help you and coach you?" And he's like, "Dude, you do that?" And I'm like, "Dude, of course." He was kind of the one that took me over the edge there, and that was really the turning point.
Dude.
For you guys that are listening, Bavee ended up turning pro in 2023 at Toronto Pro Qualifier, the Super Show. And Toronto Pro, I would say, is like the most competitive pro qualifier in Canada.
I
Won the
remember the
overall.
moment he went pro. Like, I was so stoked for you just as a coach and just seeing you get your first pro card. I was like, man, that's got to be a damn good feeling because at that point, I'd never helped anybody get a pro card yet. But then just seeing your guys' success together, and also like Bobby is still a client of yours, and I think that's amazing. I love the loyalty there. I love it when a coach is able to help a client grow from the ground up and ultimately reach that super difficult goal of getting a pro card.
And a really good one as well, because the year prior to first show that we'd done 2022 together, things didn't go exactly the way that we had kind of planned. He ended up getting second place in his class when we were kind of hoping we were going into that to win. And some people they get a look that they don't kind of want. They just are like, all right, what's next? Who's next? Like, so like the fact that he stuck with me was just like you were saying, loyalty with clients is huge. It's all learning.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of leads me into like one of our questions here is what separates a good partnership from a great one, and what's the key to working together long term?
So like I mean, the two main things that come to mind is communication and honesty. Are they able to communicate things, or are they going to keep things locked up inside and let them kind of fester and boil and then turn around and leave? Like, there's nothing worse as a coach when you find out why a client left and it's something that you were completely unaware of, that they basically just held inside almost. If you would have just communicated that one thing, like, hey, I don't like this or whatever it is, we nip it in the butt right there, and then it's fine. So it's not all about what I say. It's a lot of input on them and their past experiences. And like Chidi, there's a lot of things where we were like had really good conversations and were collaborative about, so that I was able to understand how to peak him best.
I think
as you guys know, like
communication is even more important when you're online coaching because you can't be there in person to see how they actually look in real life. So you're really going off of what they see and feel and how they're expressing it over messages.
Like there was a few things with how we peaked Chitty that I would have never found out if he hadn't told me certain things that he had done in the past, even like an accidental thing that he did. Like he had told me about one time when he was in prep in a previous show and he had to go on a flight and he didn't eat any food and all he drank was coffee. He's like, I think I drank like 3 coffees. And then in the afternoon, I went and I got to like my hotel and I looked at myself and he was like, I was the best that ever looked. And I was like, well, that's really good information. And we literally used half of that to peak him.
When I saw you post his protocol for peaking him on show day, I literally have never seen anything like that in my entire life. Like I know people will have a glass of wine or they'll have a vodka shot the night before a show, but the fact that he had, you quoted this, more than 8 shots on show day.
Yeah.
I was like, how does that even work? Like, wouldn't that, how can he even get on stage, first of all? And how does that actually make someone look better? Because what we're told in order to peak is, oh, you need a lot of carbs. You got to have the right amount of sodium. You got to make sure that you're not drinking too much water on show day. So when I saw that he was only having coffee, taking more than 8 vodka shots, and then I think he had like some pump up snacks on stage.
Yeah, he had a banana with a certain amount of honey with about a half a teaspoon of salt about 45 minutes before. And then about 10 minutes before, we had there was probably about 30 grams of honey with another half a teaspoon of salt that I put in like that much water and just like mixed it up and made him drink it probably about 10 minutes before he pumped up. And he started pumping up and he just exploded and came to life. But yeah, we didn't plan for it to go that extreme by any means. It's like just every time we repeated the process, he got better. So I was like, all right, like just like kept rinsing and repeating and being like it just kept improving. And I was like, okay, like if things start to go south, like we can always just bring a little bit of like water back in, or like if he starts to flatten out, we still have the option that we can feed him a little bit. So it was just continuing to monitor, like, okay, he's not flattening out, he's staying full, he's staying dry, like, and then, but it was like he just kept getting better. And I'd be like, okay, give me 15 push-ups to make sure that you can like feel your chest. Yeah, my chest is exploding. I'm like, you give it to anybody else, like it's not going to work. You just have to realize that not everyone is going to be the same, and sometimes you got to say fuck the science. Like I understand what works, but it's like sometimes you have to do the complete opposite of what works.
Definitely taking that protocol in for my own prep next time. We'll see if it works. But
yeah,
I was really fascinated with that peak.
And then you take someone like Bavee. I think I still have it in my notes here somewhere. It's disgusting. Yeah, he had on show day, he had 8 Rice Krispies, 38 chocolate rice cakes, 2 chocolate chip muffins, 270 grams of jam, 255 grams of honey, 260 grams of nut butter, and 1.5 liters of water.
Yeah, I remember.
I think before prejudging, he had 7 meals.
That's insane that his midsection stayed so tight while pushing that much food.
Like just completely not planned. And he was in like a rice ick phase where he couldn't eat more than 100 grams of rice in a meal. And so it was like we were just doing rice cakes. And his mouth was so torn up.
You coach a lot of high caliber athletes now. So what do you say to an athlete that's feeling super confident going into a show, but the result doesn't really reflect how they look? How do you help them process through their emotions? Whether it was like bad judging, they didn't get the placing that they were expecting, or just getting overlooked.
Yeah, that's a hard one for sure. And I definitely dealt with that a few times this year. The initial sting is the worst for sure, especially when you know that they're on and you know sometimes it's even their best look they've ever brought. For whatever reason, they just go in a different direction. The initial sting is hard for both of us. It's always going to suck for the first 12 hours at least. And then probably the next morning is going to sting as well. But you need to take that step back and look at photos of yourself and just be like, you know what? I did that. Like Like, who cares that we did what we needed to do? Who cares what the judges said at that point? Take their feedback. You just have to look at what you brought and just take a step back and forget the placings and just like be proud of what you brought and just know that you're just gonna come back. Like, there's nothing really that's gonna not make that sting for at least the first bit. You have to be really mentally strong, and then also just respect the other athletes at that point. The saying will always be only one person can win on every day, and sometimes it's not going to be you.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like it's a subjective sport. Whoever's judging it makes their own decision on what they like and what they see. And if you want to ultimately win your pro card or win a pro show, you just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And honestly, you use it as fuel. Like you can get pissed off about it and use it for like motivation for the next show to be like, you know what, like I'm coming back and like I don't care who's judging me, like they're not going to have a reason to tell me no next time.
Yeah, you got to become undeniable and you can't give
Yeah,
them a reason.
yeah, yeah.
How do you handle athletes who believe they are an overall or a pro card worthy physique, but aren't quite there yet? Maybe like,
So my first call, people will need to set that standard right away, and see where they are mentally and where they see themselves essentially. I actually just literally about an hour ago had a call with someone and they wanted to compete, and I said, okay, like what is your timeline? And she was like, honestly, like I'm thinking like 2027. I was like, that's my favorite answer because I'm like, you just told me right now that you're gonna be patient and you don't want to rush this. So someone like that, I already know that like, they have realistic expectations and they understand where they are at this current moment. Where you'll have some people who say, "Hey, man, I want to compete," and you're like, "Okay, when do you want to compete?" And they're like, "I want to do this show," and you're like, "That show's in 12 weeks."
I want to win the
Like,
Olympia.
yeah,
I've never done a
and
show before, but I want to win the Olympia.
yeah, no, and then yeah, you'll get the people who they say they want to win their pro card like right off the bat and stuff like that, and you just when people kind of initially say like that they want to win their pro card, I kind of just like ignore that part almost and like, all right, I'm not gonna crush your dream right away or something like that, but as the show gets closer, like a lot of my people will know like they won't hear how I think they're gonna do until like I think there's something. Once you get to closer to the show, start to kind of gauge how what they're expecting, and that's when I'll kind of set the standard of what they should be kind of hoping for. But yeah, like for another example, I had my girl Chelsea who went pro well in wellness. We didn't even talk. So she won Legends Cup overall the week before nationals in her first ever show, and I before that show, I didn't even ask her if she was doing nationals. We didn't even talk about if she was going to do nationals.
did you believe like in your own mind, did you believe like, hey, this is a pro physique?
Well, I knew she was going to win the overall at Legends, and I knew that she was going to be a contender for the pro card. But
Hmm.
I just don't put I don't like to put a lot of pressure on people sometimes. I like to just kind of let it play out. And so with her, I just let it play out, and I was like, we're just going to take this one show at a time. She won national legends, and then we just like went into nationals kind of again with I didn't set any expectations with her. I didn't tell her like, oh, like you're going pro or anything like that until after prejudging happened. Yeah, until prejudging happened was the first time I told her like you're going pro. So that's another way that I kind of set that expectation.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. How do you deal with the pressure when a high caliber athlete wants to join your team and maybe they're already an established IFBB pro, maybe they've won a couple of big shows before. So how do you deal with the pressure that comes with coaching those sort of athletes?
Honestly, like I don't now. I don't have that. I don't feel it. I used to. There's one case in particular that I do remember, and it wasn't even so much Bavee, but sometimes like you do have somebody who like it is expected that this person should win. So it feels like all eyes are on you. Like you are like I am in control of this person's fate, essentially, when it's somebody who, for example, Chidi or even Shane for Vancouver, that's someone who shouldn't lose that show. So it's like the pressure is on me to ensure that he does what he needs to do. I don't really feel it all that much anymore, just because as a coach, you just have to trust your abilities, right? Like, these people are hiring you for a reason. It's like the corny saying that Bumstead made of like, pressure is privilege. Like, if you feel like there's pressure, that's a good thing. Like, I earned my spot to be here and to have this kind of pressure. So I kind of just embrace it now. I'm all, like, just confident that, you know what, like, when you step on stage, I know that we are going to bring your best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. What are the differences that you've seen between clients working with top level coaches versus up and coming hungry coaches?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have firsthand kind of experience seeing what a lot of these like top level coaches like are interacting like directly with their athletes, but a top level coach, likely the relationship will be much more surface level, and not in a bad way, in a way that, like, we're here to get a job done, this is the job, and this is what we're talking about, and this is what we're doing. Whereas an up and coming coach will likely have, with the majority of their clients, will much more likely have a much closer kind of personal relationship with every single one of their clients. So, like, if you go to hire a top level coach that we see in the industry, like, you just have to understand that, like, you aren't going to be buddies. You're not going to shoot the shit with them. It's going to be like, you're going to send your check-in, you're going to get a response, and that's going to be it until your next check-in. Whereas it might be a different kind of vibe with an up and coming coach, because they have more time to give in those cases. So yeah, if you're doing your first show, you're better off going with somebody who is kind of, as you say, an up and comer, or just like someone who's just more local to you, that you can have a little bit more attention.
How do you keep athletes, like, we all know that the prep is where you see all the visual results quickly, but how do you keep somebody motivated after the show and now you're into the off season? And I like to say it's not a off season, it's more just like you're improving, you're growing. It's like an improvement season. It's not like you're turning it off. How do you keep somebody motivated when there's no deadlines, there's no stage date, and there's no hype?
Yeah. So some people, no matter what you do, it's not going to work, unfortunately. But um, it's you just have to set stages. Like our next goal isn't to step on stage, but we're going to treat it as if it is. Like, there is a deadline for something. So it's not just thinking like, okay, we just finished this season. We're going into a long off season. We're taking a full year off before we prep. And now we're thinking, all right, we just shut down in 2025 and we're not competing until 2027. Setting those interval goals during the off season, whether it's weight restrictions for certain timelines or different things for each different athlete, that I try to set throughout the off season. But there's some people who I have to be much more on top of, to keeping them going so that they're not missing check-ins.
Yeah, like for me, what's really helped, and I don't think it works for everybody, is I pick a show and I'm like 83 weeks out. I'm like kind of still in prep, but like we're growing right now.
Yeah.
But in my brain, I'm like, that's the goal. I need something to chase. And if I don't have something, then I kind of just don't have a direction to go.
Yeah. No, I mean, and on a lot of my, and that is, so like that's exactly what I was kind of saying, is that's what people who are very, like, a little bit more kind of experienced and have that kind of headspace that they're able to do that kind of thing. That's exactly what it is. On the top of their program, I have, you're this many weeks out. Like, somebody finishes the show, like somebody finishes Toronto Pro this last year, and they say, and it's like, our plan is, we're circling back and this is the show we're doing again. As soon as they get their reverse diet plan, we're 52 weeks out. And then it's like, like seeing that, and then seeing that, like, the next time I send an update, it's like, okay, now we're 47 weeks out. Seeing that kind of kicking is like understanding that it's like, it's not as far away as it may seem, especially kind of when you're only doing like a year in between. But like, if you're just like, oh yeah, no, I'm competing next year, then it's like, you think you have all the time in the world until you like break it down like that. But yeah, each person has their own ways. Yeah, a lot of it, well, like, it does come on to the coach to make sure that they are kind of following that. It's on the athlete to really be holding themselves accountable if they really do kind of want that goal.
What is the ratio of your contest prep to lifestyle clients? Yeah.
It's probably 80-20.
Contest prep. That's incredible.
Yeah. 75-25, 80-20. Yeah. Something like that. I know the exact numbers, but I have to do the math.
Yeah. We kind of talked a little bit about peaking just with, Chidi and Bavee's story, but I kind of want to ask you more about refeeds. How often do you implement a refeed, or do you do like a different approach, like a cheat meal? How often would you do these with your clients? Is it like a scheduled thing, or do you see it more as you implement them when they absolutely need it?
Yeah. So my strategy is um it's I won't give a refeed for usually at least the first like 10 weeks of prep unless we see like 4 pound drops or just like severe drop in performance or something is just something like for the first 10 weeks of a prep, somebody should be feeling pretty optimal. Like you're dropping any off-season inflammation, your energy should be relatively like good for those first 10 weeks. There should be no issues. There should be, in my opinion, there should be no reason really to be giving refeeds other than if I have the example of some women where they'll be on more of like a carb cycle type of diet where we have a leg day meal plan, an upper body day, and then your rest day. So they have 3 different meal plans where all of their leg days might be higher than their upper body day or whatever it is, but I don't really consider those refeeds. That's just like their base diet. But so I'll usually run that all the way until things start to show that we need to do something. Just continue to ride that progress of the base diet, kind of bringing food down if and when needed throughout those first number of weeks. And then once we show signs of kind of it's fatigue, if it's performance, strength, sleep, kind of whatever it is that shows like the initial kind of signs of prep, then I'll be like, okay, now we're going to start to consider the options for refeeds. And then um, each person is kind of different, especially based on if I have past experience with them or if it's their first prep with me, how kind of aggressive I go with these refeeds. But if it's someone who's my first prep with them, if they're eating 200, or I guess at this point, they'll probably be eating maybe 300 grams of carbs. I might be like, okay, like let's see like maybe let's try 450 grams for a refeed and see kind of how you feel with that. And if they, and then basically just take that feedback from the next day for the next one. And I'll just kind of repeat that when there's a reason to, depending on their level of condition at that point. So someone who is ahead is in really good shape. As soon as like literally any sort of sign of like decline, it's like, okay, let's do something. Let's pull you out. We don't need to feel like shit. Let's pull you out. But if it's someone who we're a little bit behind, I'll let that kind of sit and fester for maybe a couple of days and then be like, okay, like now let's like we needed you to feel like that to get things burning. Now let's kind of pull you out a little bit. And then from there, I'll basically start to use that information with each refeed. I'm like basically tracking kind of how they're looking after kind of the way their look changes, the way their weight changes, if it causes them to hold water, whatever I'm seeing based on kind of the food that I just gave them the day prior. I'll use that and either run the same thing again or change it the next time to either say, you know what, let's do that for 2 days in a row next time, or let's do this with a reduction of cardio, or let's do this, but we're going to do the one day and we're going to bump it up another 200 grams of carbs or something like that. And then each time I go through that, I'm kind of tracking their look, tracking the data, seeing what I like. And then it's like, okay, and now we're starting to get close to being ready. Like we're starting to see signs of being ready. And then I'll start to use that information to really start to be like, okay, now every single time I give somebody a refeed, it's based on when they need it, and we're going to be using it as essentially like a peak week. Like so, I will every time that I feel like they need it, it will be their basically mock carb load for what I will be trying to assess for peak week, and then I'll be trying to find okay, like this is going to be the morning of show day. This is what that this is the look that we brought based on this food. And then again, I will kind of see how I like that look based on what I'm giving and then make changes for the next one. And I'll try to do that kind of as many times as I can before the end of prep. And this kills like so many birds with one stone right there, because I'm making sure that my athletes are staying fresh. They're not getting burnt into the ground. And then we're figuring out how to make them look good. So we're not just, all right, you're tired, go have a burger and fries. Go have 40 pieces of sushi. Like, you're not going to just have a burger and fries. You're not just going to go have 40 pieces of sushi before stage. Like, that information doesn't do anything for me. Like, sure, it might help the athlete feel better in that moment. It might kind of help their, like, the next 2 or 3 days, but it's not going to do anything for us to figure out how to make them peak right. So that I'm not against using a burger in that process of the whole refeed itself, but the whole refeed itself I'm using as a means to essentially figure out what they're going to look like on stage.
Yeah. Bobby does it with me. It's like, if you need it, you need it. And when we do it, we're recording everything. Like,
we're going to use
taking photos of your pump. You're taking photos at night. You're doing photos in your morning after the refeed. It's especially happened when I was starting to get more fat free, like near the end. That was happening like every week. Like, I was dying through the week and I was getting fatigued, but then no, I just get one on the weekend. We collect more data and ended up using a lot of the data for the peak week. And something we learned is like, I definitely like benefit from small meals, like 8 small meals rather than 6, because I can actually just like digest it. Yeah. And we learned a lot. It was, like you said, very good data at the same time, helping the athlete, especially if they're fatigued or there's something
getting out of that hole.
For sure. Very conducive.
Yeah, that's how I have been doing it for 5 years now. But yeah, that's my lengthy approach to how I like to peak my guys.
That's all really good information. I mean, you break it down, it might seem lengthy to you, but I'm taking all these little notes as you're speaking. And I think it doesn't get talked about enough. So it's kind of nice to hear your thought process, like walking yourself through how you give them refeeds.
How have you evolved as a coach over the years? And what's something you used to believe early on that you've completely changed your stance on now?
Man, it's a hard one. I've kind of always tried to be really open to like everything. I mean, there was a point where I was extremely anti-cheat meal, like during prep. I guess this would probably be my only one that I can think of as far as things that I've changed my kind of stance on. And it's not like I changed it like drastically, but there was a period from probably 2021, 2021 to like 2024, where it was like I didn't have a single athlete who had cheat meal in prep. There was like no chance.
Did athletes leave you during that time because they weren't getting it?
I had no athletes leave me, but I had athletes refuse to join with me because of that.
There's
like I wasn't told directly by them, but I was told by people who like told me like, oh, this guy was telling me he wanted to switch to you, but he heard you don't do cheat meals. I was like, well, I don't want him then. Sounds weak. No, I was like, I just always was like, I'm like, why am I going to put something in that could affect your digestion when like I can get the same result out of just giving you clean carbs and fats? So one thing actually we discovered with Ryan was candy bars work extremely well with him. So man, I can't remember. He probably ate like from Friday to finals on Saturday night. He probably had like 10 or so chocolate bars or something, something crazy, like Snickers bars, Mars bars.
Figure that out. Like, what made you just decide to go with that direction?
He kind of brought that one up to me because he needs quite a bit of food to push. So he was like, how about what? He's like, what do you think if we tried some sugars? Like, so I was like I got no problem. Like, let's try it. So a couple workouts, I would just like go get 2 or 3 chocolate bars, have them before you work out, send me photos. And with Ryan also, I'm lucky where he trains at my gym, so I'm able to go see him a lot as well. And every time I made him do that, he just looked crazy. So I was like, all right, his meals would be like 300 grams of rice with 2 Mars bars or something like that.
You didn't even have to cheat after the show. Like, he felt like he was cheating the entire peak.
Yeah. So that was one thing that I kind of changed my stance on. While I still am majority, like there a lot of my people will never see cheat meal in their prep, especially a cheat meal for the sake of a cheat meal. The only time they'll get it is if I think it will benefit a peak. As far as like I've kind of evolved as a coach, I would say almost to say that I haven't evolved in the sense that no matter how big my like clientele gets, I always try to maintain that same kind of service that I had when I was starting out. I've always tried to make sure that I maintain that same kind of care that I always did from the very start when I had that amount of time for people. I work until like almost 3 a.m. religiously. Like I can't go to bed with any messages in my WhatsApp inbox. Like I won't sleep. Like literally right now, like I hate the fact that my phone is face down and I don't know how many messages have come in the last 50 minutes. But I guess that sort of answers it.
I think the process that you've had all these years, it's tried and true, and it clearly works. Like you have a high caliber
Yeah,
team. You're doing
yeah,
well
yeah.
with your business. Is thriving. You're getting pro cards. So I think the fact that you've kind of just stuck to your guns, you stuck to the fundamentals, is what makes you
Yeah.
a great coach.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because people a lot of times they'll be on either on a coaching call or right after. Somebody will like they'll ask me like, oh, like I just forgot to ask, like, do you use an app or how does your check-in setup work? And like you see, I mean, you see my check-ins, like it's like an old school spreadsheet that doesn't look fancy. And I've literally kept that same system since I started.
It's great, man. Okay, well, I got a fun question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to do is rank the difficulty from toughest to easiest to achieve. So the first one would be getting a men's physique pro card when the CBBF was still happening. Second one is a men's physique pro card at North Americans, a men's physique pro card at Olympia Amateur, and a bikini open pro card at Toronto Pro Qualifier as a natural athlete.
Okay, so hardest natural bikini girl at Toronto, for sure, I would think.
Okay.
Just because not a lot of natural girls have the density that the top amateur open girls carry. So you'd have to be quite the freak to be able to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next hardest would probably be men's physique when CBBF was a thing. Simply because at that time there was one. There was no Vancouver Pro Qualifier. There was no Toronto Pro Qualifier. There was just nationals.
Yeah.
So to be that guy is pretty crazy. And I would say probably Olympia is the next hardest, simply because number of pro cards, only 3 in the overall. And then I mean this one hurts both me and Aiden to say because that's where Aiden won his, but North Americans would be the easiest simply because all you have to do is win your class. All you have to do is finish center stage in your class at prejudging and you know that you won your pro card. I guess that would be the ranking on that one.
Yeah. And I would still say even winning a pro card at North Americans is extremely difficult. It's not easy by any means. I was just very interested in hearing kind of like where you would rank those things.
Yeah. You still have like 15 guys in your class sometimes. So it's not easy. I did it and my 1 year I did it, I got 7th place. Like coming off of that was my first show coming off of winning my class at Toronto Pro and go there and I got 7th place at North Americans and I was like, yeah, I would say that would simply because of the number of cards given out, that would probably be the order of it. And like I mean, you look at North Americans every single year, like Canadians come home with pro cards like every single time.
Solid. Vic, do you have any other questions for Jayden? Or Jayden, do you want to share anything else?
I guess maybe the only other one that I'm surprised you didn't ask is the question that I get asked at every single show that I go to. I don't know if you want to guess what the question is.
When are you hopping back on stage?
Yeah, that I do not know. I do not know if I will.
In what category?
That's the other thing. I do not know that either. But yeah, my last show was nationals in 2022, and at that point, I had told myself I was taking 2 years off because from 2014 to 2022, I competed at least once a year, every single year, and I was like, I didn't even realize that like until I like took a step back and realized I was like, holy shit, like I haven't taken a break, like I'm taking a year off since I started when I was 18 years old. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a full year off I'm going to wait until at least 2024. And kind of, I mean, that was the year that I got my first pro card, and then I got just things just started to roll. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to put all my focus into my clients, and put my own competing on the back burner for at least another year. And then I got twice as busy at that point, and then it kind of just progressed into like just me continuously using that as almost an excuse of like, all right, like we're not stepping on stage one like again. And then there was the last year I herniated a disc in my neck and I couldn't train upper body for like 8 months. So that kind of I was at my biggest when that happened. And then that kind of took me down a little bit, but I've kind of made a commitment to myself that every year during the off season, like from November to April, is when I make all my progress and I get huge again. And then, well, huge, like big for me. And and then once the season starts again, then I kind of athletes take over. But this year I'm committing myself to being more serious about my own goals during the actual competitive season and not letting the clients be an excuse for why I might skip a meal or skip workouts or whatever it is. I'm looking into hiring someone because I haven't had a coach in literally like 6 years for a little bit of accountability. But there are some people out there that I do want to learn from that I would be interested in having them both coach me and see if there's an opportunity for mentorship with them as well.
Perhaps we'll see you in 2026.
Yeah.
It sounds like you got a lot of things coming up here. You know, really proud of everything that you've accomplished just watching from the sidelines as a coach. I know you're a great coach. I've seen your athletes. I've competed against them. And yeah. Vic, any other words?
Just want to say thanks to Jayden for coming on, sharing his insight. It's really great value to hear all the different experiences he's had and being willing to take the time and share that with us. And hopefully everyone that's listening can gain some value from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out Jayden for coming on the pod.
Yeah, appreciate you on.
Yeah. How about you, Don? Are you doing nationals next year or what?
I'm going to skip Natural Canada. I'm just going to prep for one regional show and the Extreme Natural Pro Qualifier. I just want to kind of save myself the travel, give myself a little bit more time and do something more local to where we are.
I like that. I like that show. Yeah, I like a lot of the Vancouver shows, at least the ones that I've been to.
Yeah. You usually come home with a winner.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, both times I went to Vancouver,
you want to
yeah. It was funny with the Bella one. I wasn't even because I was supposed to have a regional one on the same day in Hamilton here, so I wasn't even going to go to nationals until literally like 2 days before. I just like was like, you know, I'm like she's winning. There's no doubt in my mind that she's winning, and I'm not going to not be there. So I'm like, all right, I bought the ticket and went over. Yeah.
Awesome. So if you guys are listening right now, do us a favor, share this episode with a friend and hit subscribe so you guys don't miss the next one. Anyways, appreciate you guys for tuning in and we'll see you guys on the next episode. All right. See you guys later.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Jen.